Property insurance?
Yes.
Property insurance ranges from $395 to about $450 a house. That's for a $50,000 burnout insurance, meaning if your house,
5 policy only?
if you're 500,
5 policy only or?
no, includes everything. Let me explain what it includes. It includes a $50,000 burnout policy, not replacement, because houses are, no point having a
Not
replacement.
big, yes.
Yes. So if their house burns down, they fully, and it's a full loss, you will get a check for $50,000 less a formula, which usually adds about $5,000 or $6,000. So you usually get a check around $45,000 for the house. That policy includes a $1 million liability. It includes vandalism and theft with a deductible of, I'm going to say $2,500. Right now it's $5,000, but I'm working to get it down. So I'm going to say $5,000, but I think you'll be the first group that might be able, I might surprise you with a $2,500 deductible. But let's say $5,000 for now. $1 million liability insurance, $2 million liability, $1 million per occurrence. So it's $2 million liability, $1 million per occurrence. A $50,000 burnout policy, a theft and vandalism, rainstorm, hailstorm, all those type of things. Basically, that's the main point.
390 something?
It's 395 to about 450. It does depend a little bit on the house because they use square footage things and there's a formula they use.
Right. Which company?
It's all underwritten by Lloyd's of London.
Lawyers?
Lloyd's of London is the underwriter. So that's the name of the insurance company. The underwriter, if you know anything about insurance, there's an underwriter. It's called Lloyd's of London. It's the largest in the world.
But so we purchase from you? Or?
Insurance, no, you don't.
Insurance agent?
When you buy the home from me, insurance is already in place, okay? And one of two things happens. The insurance policy then transfers to the property management company that looks after you, and you are the named insurer, or it can go into your name directly. There's two ways of going, and once we get to that stage, we'll advise you. There's no perfect way to go. We'll advise you either way, but important to note, when you buy a house, you have insurance in place, and those are the things that you need to worry about. Liability, theft, damage, vandalism, theft, and fire and the liability.
Lawyers, L-L-O-Y-D or?
What's that mean? Lloyd's? Oh, Lloyd. L-L-O-Y-D, yeah, Lloyd's of London. It's the biggest insurance company in the world.
But you don't know who's your agent?
Oh, we use two different ones. We can give you that information.
As far as more detailed, we can do specifically, yeah.
We'll give you that information. When you get to that stage, you'll have the whole thing that a piece of paper, it says everything.
Yeah.
Suggestion.
Yes.
Yeah, so do you think you can send the presentation out to all of us here?
That type of presentation,
Yeah.
whichever my boss tells me to do, I will do.
Because I think everyone will have a lot of questions, and a lot of questions will be too detailed to explain here. We don't have so much time.
Sorry.
Maybe after we review the presentation and think about the questions, if we want to know more detailed stuff, we probably can send it either to Donna or to you.
No problem.
Right? I think that it's better.
No pattern, right?
No problem. I will suggest two things. I have a website. It's very good, very detailed, and it has 105 frequently asked questions. You are not going to ask me a question 500 other people have not thought of already. Okay? You might ask it in Chinese, but it's still not going to be a new question. Donna has a website. I've never seen a website with more stuff on it than hers. I just cannot believe. I mean, it took me 4 days. I fell asleep 3 times.
A team.
I had to take a long weekend to see it. But
yeah, we'll give you that information.
Between the two websites, I think you'll get most of your information. Of course, Donna can hand out this presentation, anything and everything. We hide nothing. Just real estate's about disclosure. Show everything.
What's your website?
It's www.smarthomesinvestments, smart homes plural, investments plural, and it's on the back of the book and on my business card. Yes.
Very professional website.
And by the way, did you see the little sheets in there in Chinese? Yeah, I did. I wrote that myself. I have Chinese in there too, just to impress you.
Yeah, by the way, Gary, I think we need more your business card.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny. I brought a lot more.
Good.
Jesus, sorry, I can't believe you actually asked for some more. One salesman doesn't have business cards, right?
Any more questions? This is the best time to ask your questions.
So you mentioned earlier that it is a 1 year.
Sorry? 1-year leases.
Yeah, this is, and then after it will be.
Our average tenant stays. Can I speak over them?
Okay, yeah, what's your question?
I got his.
You got the question. Okay, yeah, let's be quiet and then get done. Yeah.
Okay, they're 1-year leases, standard 1-year leases, and they're renewable as long as we want to renew them, and we do renew them. I mean, 9 times out of 10 we renew a lease. The average tenant stays around 3 years in one of our properties. The average Section 8 tenant stays more than 3 years because Section 8 people do not move. They don't move because it costs money to move. Go ahead.
Yeah, what's the percentage about property tax in Detroit?
Okay, so there are 2 ways we address property taxes. The property, depending upon your decision, the property manager can withhold money each month and accrue it into accrues it in a EMD account. I mean trust account. Yes, sorry, thank you. It's not the word I was looking for. It's close enough. For a trust account, and then once a year we pay the taxes on your behalf as a property management company, or you don't accrue any of the money in a trust account, and once a year you pay your own property tax. You know, you send the money to the property manager, or you go online, which is very simple, take out your credit card and pay for your credit card and your property taxes are paid. So it's up to you a little bit of how you want to do it. Each individual has a little bit of different opinion. Some people like all the money and they'll pay it once a year. Some like the safety of having it in a trust account. So up to you as an investor.
Yeah, what's the percentage?
What's Oh, the percentage. So I didn't hear that word. Sorry. Sorry, I thought you said procedure. I'm sorry. Sorry. Well, it's not a percentage. The average price of property tax is around $2,300 on a home. Now, property taxes are slightly high in the state of Michigan.
How much per house?
$2,300. But it's all. If you look, $2,300 a year. If you look on this example, if you look at these examples, it shows you what the property tax is on each one of these houses. Okay, well, let me also, the ROI, let me explain. The return on your investment that you have on these sheets includes all your expenses, including property tax. So your money that you're making is after your property taxes are calculated. Now, I will tell you one thing. Once a year, in the month of February, we challenge property taxes on your behalf to get them lowered. Today, in the city of Detroit, property taxes are being dropped by 30 to 40% on average. So they are going down, and that's because the new mayor has a philosophy that he needs to reduce property taxes to make them more convenient for people to own a home and buy a home and keep a home. So it's actually a good time to be involved because property taxes are actually coming down in the state of Michigan or in Detroit.
我来补充一下关于这个 property tax property tax 和加州不一样，加州是按照我们的买价的 percentage 1.25左右，对吧？在 Detroit totally 2种不同的概念，所以我们不能把我们在加州的这个 percentage 的概念拿去衡量 Detroit， 它的每一个房子都不一样，它的 property tax 多少呢？没有一个固定的标准，那我们就要看它的这个每个房子里面，可能这个房子同样卖3.5万，这个房子可能是1800，那个房子可能2200，可能另外一个房子只有1200块。它的标准是用一个 SEV 这个价格来衡量的。这个价格怎么来的呢？政府给的。那我们可以 challenge 它，比如说这个税是2000块。他们会提供一种服务，每年某个时候，你可以找一个accounting 这种降税的一个专家，他帮你把税降下来。如果降不下来就不收钱，那个费用是几百块。 那这个税呢有可能会变化，就像刚才Gary讲的，政府正在有一个计划说把这个税降下来。但是 anyway， 这个税多少呢？我们看这个每个房子不一样，这个税的，比如这个房子是2000块，那它的所有的2万的这个计算都是 base 在2000块基础上来计算的。所以说，如果这个税能降下来，你们2万是会更高。但是这个税率是怎么回事呢？没有 percentage， 只是说这个房子税就这个价钱，那个房子税那个价钱，不一样的 number。对。
Bottom line，
那请问，好像像一个这价钱，今年是这样，下一年就变了吗？
没有，它
一般持续 how long
明年可能。没有，他的那不是每年。
我再 summarize more specific you answer. Anyway， 它的主要是税是 specific， 我们在那个，因为今天不能说在一个问题不能那么深，我们要从表面上先那个哈，然后根据每一个人的要求再往下继续讲。Anyway， 就是这个税的情况是这样的，就是它首先是每个它不规律，它有的是这个 block 就是这个税，它隔邻居就可能比你多一半都有这种可能，所以很难一个 general 说税是多少钱。但是好在什么呢？就是第一，就是他买房子的时候，他首先就要买税低的房子。如果这个税上来3000块、6000块，他就不会买，买了之后他自己吃亏嘛。所以他首先这就是 deciding factor， 这是第一。再一个呢，就是即使是高的话也不用怕，因为他那个有个 you understand？ 那 take notes，take notes，OK。对，他即使高的话，他们有 service， 有 service 是什么呢？他帮你去 debate 是一般是100%成功。它是100%成功，因为它这个税是按照以前房子高的时候按那个现在房子降下来了，所以它就是100%的成功，但就是这个走一个手续就是了，他们会帮着办，所以这个税呢不是一个大问题，因为他帮你降下来，你说2000是3000的，他给你降到1500，给你降一半基本上。
那你问问它的波动大不大，还是几年变一下
？Okay, for the tax, does it fluctuate once you buy the house? Is it the same every year or fluctuate?
It fluctuates down.
Oh, good for you.
It goes down. I'll tell you why it goes down.
No need to go why. Okay. Yeah, but we have so many issues to cover, so we can answer that specifically and then send to everyone. We can add to FAQ. Yeah. Go ahead.
The question is regarding like the percentage of rehab houses. Like, do we know the number? Like, how many percentage of houses that need to be rehabbed?
Where?
And the inventory, your current inventory.
My 100% of my homes need to be rehabbed when I buy them. 100%.
No, I'm saying like general market, like.
Percentage-wise?
Yeah.
I don't know this exact, but I'm going to give you a roundabout figure. There's probably about 20% of the homes in the city of Detroit need to be rehabbed at this stage because they've been left vacant because of the foreclosure process. But a lot of those, a portion of those homes are being torn down. There is a shortage of homes for the average person to buy. It's the only reason I buy so well is because I have 3-4 years of history buying from the banks. They call me first before they call their people. There's going to be a shortage of homes very soon in the U.S. I mean, if you read any newspapers, they'll tell you in 3 or 4 years.
Wisely. In our presentation, we cover about the shortage. Yeah. Okay, any more questions? Also about the rehab. And all smart home properties are pre-tenanted. That is, we don't sell any home that's not tenanted. They are pre-tenanted, pre-rehabbed. Yeah.
2年以后，2年以后这个他不guarantee 2年嘛？2年以后怎么办
？2年以后可以自己买 insurance。
自己买。
自己买这个 insurance 呢，也就是300多。
也有不 insurance 都要买。
2年已经包了，2年已经包了。
谁来负责了？
他的 full warranty， insurance 另外一回事。
他帮你2年的话，我知道。
这个就是这个租客如果有什么 complaint 的话，是 complaint 谁呢？
Problem agent.
You speak Chinese?
对不对？
他先联系 partner，
他有一个 property management company， 那就是正常的 average。这就
和你买别的投资，
你不管在加州买，在 Arizona 买，你都会有这样的问题。我们 standard 的问题不要问 ，standard 的问题不要问，因为他这种
租客要是第一年他是管了，第2年。
如果第2年也包着的，就说他第1年过了之后，所有的 所有的程序都和你在加州让找
一模
一个
一样
管理公司管理的程序都是 standard 的，你会签一个 management 一个合同，会和这家就是管理公司，所有的程序都是像别的地方也是
对，它是 standard operation，
对。
standard operation 这种就不用多讲，因为它都一样的。现在我们就主要讲10%，yeah.
So you
Did you answer the question about the?
Yeah.
All I understood was warranty. That was it.
还有什么问题？
your office at Vancouver, do you have a local?
Yeah, we have an office in Detroit.
Detroit,
Yeah.
local.
Yes.
你们谁去的，他亲自接待。
Okay.
Yeah， 所以证明他确实在
All my staff work out of
那
Detroit.
他半年住在那个底特律，基本上半年底特律，半年在那个。对呀。再一个这个区别呢，就是我们选他的这个公司的区别是什么？还有我们很多其他的 vendor 哈，他们呢实际上都是 UK 的，很多是 UK 的。UK 他们根本就不真正在这个城市，他们根本不住在底特律，他们就是底特律有一个关系，然后就开始去做，所以这种呢就很不可靠。我自己就被陷进去了。我刚开始做这个生意的时候，我就想试几家哈，到底看哪个是 reliable。我也知道，因为底特律坏不到哪儿去，我即使是砸进去了，也不会，最多是个 property manager 不好，因为它房子它基本上是那个，所以刚开始这些 vendor 呢，他就是不照谱的。像他这个就是他亲自住在那儿，他就非常了解各个的情况，他都了解，他不是靠一个中间商在做生意。Agree?
Yes.
Okay, good. Any more questions?
So right now, everyone knows Detroit is bankrupt.
Yes.
So how could the government has the fund to support Section 8?
That's not. It's federal government. Section 8 is a federal government program. It has nothing to do with the state.
It's from
Nothing to do.
Yeah, it's from
It's only managed by state people, but it's federal money. 1937, it's all federal money, 100%.
Okay, so what is the new industry in the area?
In Detroit, actually, Quicken Loans is the mortgage business. Quicken Loans has now moved to Detroit. Blue Cross has now moved to Detroit. So basically, the new industry in Detroit. Still the car industry, of course. Still the segments that support car industry. It's now known for high tech and medical industry.
Manufacturing.
It's also, and I'll tell you one thing people don't realize. It's
These are
amazing.
manufacturing guys.
It's amazing. But Michigan, the state of Michigan, not the city of Detroit, the state of Michigan has the highest percentage of educated people in the entire U.S. Believe it or not. And that's because a ton of people from the car industry are employed throughout and have been. So there's lots of engineers and other people in the state of Michigan. But for the moment, to answer your question directly, medical industry is huge. High tech is huge. Mortgage industry is huge. So Blue Cross, medical. Quicken Loans, Dan Gilbert owns Quicken Loans, the largest mortgage business in the world. Okay, he is situated in Detroit. He gives free rent to his employees as they move there. They are rejuvenating the entire city, all these major businesses. Donald Trump just left there. He is investing in Detroit now. All these people get what's going on. They're well ahead of the trend. Dan Gilbert has bought 13 high-rises in the city of Detroit. The two biggest high-rises in the city of Detroit recently bought by people of Beijing, Chinese people. Okay, just Google the David Stott, S-T-O-T-T, David Stott building, and look what they bought. In the two of the largest buildings in the city of Detroit were bought by Chinese now. The Beijing, I don't know why Beijing per se, but Beijing has come in like crazy into Detroit.
So what kind of people is there? It's most.
In Detroit today? Okay. The population of Detroit is about 85% black. Okay? Always have been for a number of years. That is the number one the change in the city of Detroit today is the influx of non-black people, or we'll say cultures, right? Groups. Today, downtown went from 85% black to 50% black and 50% non-black. And that is purely out of a style of redevelopment of the city. They are bringing in more cultures. Every major city in the U.S. or in the world need multiculturalism. They cannot depend upon one group anymore. They need, and this is what we were saying, over coffee today. I said, you know what Detroit's going to develop right now, soon, is a Chinatown. Because they're not stupid. It's very small, but let me tell you, they're not stupid. They're not stupid. They are catering to Asian population. I'm telling you, there are 4 casinos in the city. Okay, there is a reason there's 4 casinos in the city. They're building a new bridge from Canada right to Detroit. There's 1 bridge now and 1 tunnel. Detroit, you can throw a stone across the Detroit River to Canada on the Windsor. It's right there. Okay.
How far?
It's the number 1. How far? 200 yards. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. It is right underneath the tunnel, and you're in Windsor. There's 4 casinos, very catered to, Asians like their gambling. There are 4 casinos. They get what's going on. Canada's right across the Detroit River. Detroit's all on the river. It's like Chicago. If anyone of you been to Chicago, they're developing Detroit after Chicago and Vancouver, the 2 model cities that they're developing Detroit. Why? Detroit has more waterfront than any other city in the entire U.S. It's all on the water, all from Detroit River all the way through the Great Lakes. And, and by the way, everything around Detroit, all the places around, no problem. Real estate is much more expensive, and they have no issues. It's only the city of Detroit that was really hard done by, and I can tell you lots of political reasons, but it's all changing. The first time in 40 years, a white mayor has been elected to the city. Now let me tell you, that is a very important telling point. When you have a population that's 85% black that hired or voted for and elected a white mayor, that town is changing so fast. It's changed in 6 months more than 6 years. It's incredible. And that white mayor knows all the wealthy people, and he's bringing them all into the city. That city is going to be is now considered the turnaround city of the century. It's now labeled Detroit turnaround city of the century. Now let me tell you one thing that they're doing. This is very interesting. They're creating green space inside the city. There's a philosophy that you need to grow your vegetables, buy your food locally. Right? Think globally, but buy locally. They're tearing down 30% of the homes, and they're building city farms inside the city to produce their own. They're putting on top of buildings. They're putting grow space on top of buildings. This is a philosophy that other cities in the world are going to be copying. So in this city, when you drive through the city, and if Tony didn't say this, Tony knows very well, the guy that was on the phone.
But I give him only 10 minutes.
When you drive through the city, in 10 years, you will see throughout the city all kinds of green space and grow space inside the city. That's the philosophy of the new city in the world. You're seeing that in Europe, and you're going to see it in Detroit. Now, Detroit can do it because it's tearing down the buildings, and it has control to do so. It's not easy to do that in a city that's not in that position. So you want to see what happened. Google Cleveland and look at the real estate values in Cleveland in the last 24 months. They tore down all kinds of homes, and real estate values immediately went up because they took down homes that needed to be torn down, that were built in the 1920s. They reduced the amount of available homes, and of course, supply and demand immediately drove up the prices of homes. So, and the fact that it's bankrupt is the best thing in the world, right? I mean, I was hoping for it. And by the way, I am very familiar and friends with, or not friends, we'll say, I'm associated with the new mayor, okay? His campaign manager works for me now, okay? And so, that's a good thing.
We can use him to campaign for Eagle Bridge.
Here you I need more your business card.
Let him do the.
Well, I'm saying the point, that was the point I was making. Shit, after all that joking, I forgot. I forgot, I lost my point.
Best part from the bankruptcy.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's good. Listen, that city was in a financial disarray for many, many reasons. I could spend another hour telling you, I'm not going to. But they were virtually all politically driven, all because of bad politics, okay? Listen, you read the paper, you're Americans. It's a shame that what has gone on with the car industry. It's a shame what's gone on throughout the U.S. with outsourcing manufacturing. That's not good for anybody. We all know that. As Americans now, you see that. The reality, Detroit had other problems, lots of political problems, lots of racial problems in 1960s, 1970s. Detroit was $17 billion in debt, billion. Now it also was also the birthplace of the union from the car industry. Now anywhere where there's a union for 65 years, I promise you is going to be out of scale with reality, because unions drove up prices, okay, and it's not reality. So people that were cleaning the floor were making $45 an hour because after all this time, government workers could not be fired. They were making too much. There was $17 billion in debt. This year, 63% of every revenue was going to go just to service debt service. Now, you can't run a country that has 63%, or city, 63% of its revenue going just to service the debt. They went bankrupt. Their debt is going to be around $2 billion. Now, you tell me, if you took all your expenses and you eliminated $17 billion to $2 billion, or in this case, let's say you have $1 million in expenses, and all of a sudden you only have $170,000 in expenses, how much is the? So they've eliminated all their bad debt. Now that's nothing. I mean, think about one thing I've learned very quickly. If you're a human being and you go bankrupt, that's one thing. But when you're a city, nothing changes. You woke up, you drove to school, nothing. I don't know what really changed. Nothing. They just wrote off a lot of debt. And that debt is government bonds. It's things
got international attention.
It doesn't mean anything. But I'll tell you what it did do. They immediately invested $200 million to change all the street lights. They put $300 million, $30 million to tear down. What they're doing is that they were spending something like $1.7 billion a year on interest on debt service. They're putting all that back into the city to restructure the city. It's beautiful. Now remember, Detroit is not the first city in the U.S. to file bankruptcy. It's the largest, but Sacramento filed bankruptcy. Okay, there's others, right? It's not the only one. Stockton. It's not the only one. It happens to be the biggest, and it did it for different reasons, but it eliminated all its debt. It's beautiful.
It's good. Yeah.
So the government's still doing their business?
Oh yes. I'm telling you, I mean, a number of things. For example, the federal government is forcing federal jobs. They're actually relocating their own federal offices into Detroit. Let me tell you, they will never, and have never, and they are not, and it's already over with, ever going to allow Detroit to fail. This is a must-never-fail situation. And it's already past that. Like, honestly, I didn't think it to be so quick. Like, I thought this would string out. I gotta tell you, they didn't fool around, man. They put that thing into bankruptcy. As soon as they got that receiver in there, what was it? 18, not even 12 months? Boom. He fixed everything. He said, you know what? It's going to be a quick fix, and it's going to be done, and it's going to be over with. We're going to move on. This city is, it reminds me of, to be honest, it reminds me of China. Everywhere I go, there's something being built now in Detroit. Just like when I go to, China, all I can see is skyscrapers.
Yeah.
I have a question about the rent. So from what I understand about Section 8 is that they only give a certain percentage.
That's true.
So for this one, do you mean that, let's say the rent here is maybe Section 8 provide 500,
We
expect tenant to pay 200 something?
Almost all our Section 8 vouchers are for 100%. almost all. So we do not accept vouchers that are 50-50. I mean, I may give you an example. I have one voucher, I just placed yesterday or 2 days ago, a $900 voucher. $800 from Section 8, $100 from the tenant. That's about as far as we will go. We only accept vouchers. We only put people in our houses that have, a full voucher for the most part.
I have a point to make, which is important, but I will speak Chinese.
Okay.
Since you already understand. 这个最重要的机会是什么呢？就是底特律这个发现底特律，说实在我是非常早的，其实就整个是全美国和中国来说，我基本上是属于比较领先的，因为当时我们 search 的时候根本就没有底特律的信息，只有中国呢有一些是拍卖底特律，但是根本没有 news， 什么都没有 document， 什么都没有，所以我们知道当时就是非常非常早期。那因为我们做了1年之后，现在我们开始正式推底特律，那我们就会 systematic 推。我们第一步先从 Bay Area 做起，你看我们的大广告都刚开始打起来，我们在这之前做了很多的都是在做 due diligence， 现在我们已经找到了我们觉得 reliable 的公司，整个的是都做好了，下一步就开始 systematic 往下推，先是以 Bay Area 为主 ，Bay Area 做完了之后，我们做洛杉矶做完了之后往那个西雅图，然后 Canada 一步一步推再往东部走，所以说呢，我们是其实真正中国人开始真正买底特律就是从现在开始了，所以你们这就是领先的，是真正现在才是 systematic。现在国内已经开始买，但是他们那种买是等于是乱敲乱打，因为他们没有 systematic， 他们找不到这种 builder， 他们找不到，他们只有找到 broker。你 broker 它不一样 ，broker 它的角度很窄，他只能看到ML listing 的东西，像他们这种东西不上 ML listing 的，他们这个你找不到的。这个必须要找到 builder 你才有，他们不上 ML list， 所以说 broker 呢只能找 ML listing 的东西 ，ML listing 的东西它不是成套的，它就是一家张三李四王二麻子他在卖，它不会有 property management， 它不是一条龙的。我们这是整个从头给你包到尾，几层服务，所以说从我们这个开始推呢，就开始 systematic 一步一步一个一个城市走，而且到时候就是为什么他也愿意这么愿意重力了来支持我们，就是他看到中国人这个势力，我们的 buying power， 中国人在一个非常 sharp 非常 wise， 所以他也都知道这些，所以现在你们这是早期。那个这些房子呢，我们也是通过那个我们 Anthony Leggins， 他把我们所有这个 inventory， 他呢每个月差不多是20到30个 inventory， 他把 inventory 上来了之后，我们就叫 Anthony Leggins， 他是 independent 的 broker 哈，他给做一个grading。就要打分从1到10，那他这个完全是跟他没关系的，他不怕得罪他的。那好房子就是好房子，坏房子就是坏房子，他给他打10分是最坏的嘛，他照样给他打10分。所以说，那这个就是等于我们的保护，对不对？他要卖给外人，他们要卖给德国或者那个法国的，他们就不会按照这个条。他们不请 broker， 所以他们不知道，只有我们才真正知道真正的 story， 它里边真正好房子是什么，坏房子是什么。所以你现在我们打分的这个是1到4，是我们打结的，打红结的啊，1到4。那这些呢，我估计这些很快就会没了。没了之后呢，那就是，所以我觉得你们等我说完哈，对不起哈，就是呢，现在就开始卖。等于是现在已经有几个人已经买了哈，他们几个人已经买了，买完之后呢，今天讲座之后会有一批进来了之后呢，我们会把好的先给它卖掉之后，那下边就要等了，等它再一批再上来之后，我们再把好的赶快打分。连夜打分，打完分之后，然后我们再推给你们，然后大家再来抢好的，然后坏的就让他卖给别的国家就行了。所以我们用这种 system。所以那个再一个就是有几个 urgency， 一个就是Detroit 整个全美国的现在 inventory 都在减少 ，Detroit 也在减少哈。那再一个那我们这个中国人的进入呢，那会更快一些。所以这 inventory 一个是价钱在涨，你像去年我看的时候，这些1万多就可以买到。1万多的房子就能租700，现在没有了，现在差不多在2万多，那明年可都得3万多，所以它是一直往上涨。反正就是这个机会呢是个好的机会，因为它已经到了 bottom， 你再想往低的不可能再低了，你闭着眼它也低不了了。所以说这个你至少亏不了。然后所以我们把这个就是有可能的这些 risk。把它都堵着了，就有可能那个流水的地方啊，或者把它堵着了，所以呢，尽量是在保护我们大家的利益。但是呢，我们不 guarantee， 那就是投资本身要你们自己的责任啊，你们自己要观察，要看这个房子是不是好啊，什么要做一些很多自己的 due diligence。我们尽量去帮忙，但是我们不能 guarantee， 我们不是 government， 对吧？ OK，您讲，您的问题。
谢谢。
Thank you.
Okay, if more than one of us interested in the same property, do we have to bid against each other?
Yes, yes. 所以谁早 reservation 是这样的。Yeah, first come first serve. First come first serve. 就是你这个 reservation 什么时候 hit 这个 count。hit 这个 count 了，那就是等于你是第一个。哎，你就拿着 paper 没用哈，拿着 paper 没用，必须要 wire。再一个呢，它这个 wire 它这个非常 safe 是什么呢？第一，它这个钱是进到它的那个 escrow account。
That's not completely true. We give it to the best-looking girl first. Come on.
Okay. Shut. Okay. So 它是首先呢，它有几个那个保险的哈，一个呢，它这1000块钱哈，1000块钱呢是进到它的 escrow account， 不是进他公司的。像我呢，我买另外一个公司啊，它是进3500块钱进到他公司，现在我3700，我现在退不出来，现在我退不出来。但是我当时买的时候我就想砸着，然后我看这个市场到底是怎么回事，现在我就退不出来，因为它这个是 non-refundable。而且是不能那个的，而且不进 escrow account， 所以他这个呢，那我们必须要犯一些错误，我们才知道什么是好的。所以为什么最后找到他，就是我们以前犯的这个错误，我们一看在他身上都有可以那个 protect 的，所以我们才认准这个公司。他就是这个钱，你1000块钱，就这1000块钱你都不可能损失掉。首先它是进到 escrow account， 再一个这个钱是 non-refundable， 可能将来就不有 non-refundable， 现在还是 non-refundable， 再过一段我们就不给 non-refundable。
不是说不能，就是说如果这个房子不满意，我们下一步，我们相信我们以后的量会很多人会来买。如果以后你这个房子不满意的话，我们可以把你 transfer 到另外一个房子，但是就。可能就不 refund， 因为我们要尊重我们的这个供应商他们付出的劳动。这样现在我们都是
现在还是 non-refundable， 等于一点 zero risk。现在你有 zero risk， 对吧？
我们要去底特律的话，是先跟你们联系，还是先？
你要跟我
们联系。平常你们拿着他的那个名片，但平常不要打电话，因为他很忙的哈。我们只是跟我们联系，跟你的 agent， 你们每个人都有一个 agent， 跟 agent 联系。
是跟我们一起过去，还是你们就在这边呢？然后
我们会安排你们到当地，你要提前48小时通知我，我们会根据你的那个说可以没问题，你告诉我们 schedule， 我们
你的 schedule 不是已经定了吗？你们的 schedule 是他们的已经有一批了。
要跟我们有 schedule， 最好稍微提前一点，因为这样的话，他那边会安排人手，可能会有个讲中文的人会帮助你们。如果你们需要这种中文服务的话，要提前告诉我们，会把你们 schedule 给我们你们的计划的 schedule， 然后我们跟他们协商，会帮你们安排什么人去接你们，什么时候在哪家hotel去住。
签约是跟他们签，不是跟你们签。
都一样，跟他们
签约是这样，我们就是他们 marketing agent。我们签约你是跟他们是 seller 跟他们签，但是我们会提供一个免费的这个 Tony 他的 service 给你，我们来付他钱。
所以你也会到那儿会见到 Anthony， 他直接帮你，他就等于你的 broker。
他会在你看完之后，或者你不看，你买了定了之后，所有的过程，这个 Tony 会帮你 take care， 就像在湾区就帮你照相啊，帮你 Vandal Fox through， 然后帮你拿到 make sure 你有 certificate， 你的地的是正常被 recording 啦 ，everything 他帮你 take care。
对，就是你房子最后好的时候，他要亲自去看这个房子是不是 rehab 好了，是不是 vendor， 是不是那个 renter 已经住进来了，是不是这些他就 personally responsible。
对，他
这房子只是cash是吧
？cash 对。
贷款。
那 apartment 可以贷款，它还有 apartment 那种可以贷款。请讲。
你在这个签约的时候是一定要 in person 还是可以
electronic 都可以。
它是 all cash， 所以不需要 notary， 也不需。当然你要想做也可以 ，all cash 不需要 notary， 你也就只是签字scan 就可以了。
对呀，因为它这个都是进到 escrow account， 不用见面，你见我们我们也不碰你的钱，所以说呀，对，所以做的更容易，就是在家就可以 scan 什么的 scan 就行了。
和加州 transaction 一模一样，除了地的，加州是 grant 地，那边是 warranty 地，除了这个不一样，其他都一样。
There will be a time in the near future that once you own this real estate, you will be able to remortgage and refinance these. You know, you're all Americans. You know what refinancing is all about. It's the thing of, it's the American way. So there will be, points where you'll be able to refinance, take those assets out of the. I mean, I don't want to tell you, I'm not going to tell you that should be a business philosophy, because that's not. I'm kidding.
They don't need to refinance. California, they have too much cash.
But there will be that time you can do.
But that reminds me of one point. 一个最重要的是什么呢？就是现在呢房子比较低，然后再一个是那个当地人呢没有 buying power， 现在买房子99.9%差不多都是外人买的，都是外国人买的，美国人都没有 buying power， 就是中国人这些外国人买的。International buying, I'm talking about international and the buying power in Detroit, it's almost zero. 但是呢，再过几年，也可能1年到2年之间，他的那个 loan 就开始，银行就开始放钱了。到时候放钱的时候，他的那个 regulation 也都开始松了。他就这些很多呢，以前失去房子的那些人呢，他就可能重新可以贷款了。就现在 renter， 可能这些 renter 将来就可以把这个房子买下来了。那当地的 buying power 起来的时候，这个房子就开始涨了。所以说我们买进来，现在是个比较好的时候，就是买进来，你先吃着 cash ROI 先吃着，然后呢，你就等着他们的 buying power 起来 ，buying power 起来了，你的房子就开始往上涨了，然后你再过几年又开始吃这个 appreciation， 反正两边有的吃的。也今天一买进来，明天就赚钱，所以你像这种
开始的，他们09年很多人破产呀，然后 credit 不好啊，到现在已经5年了是吧？很多人 credit 已经开始慢慢 build up 起来，就可以 qualify 贷款了。所以我因为我自己的贷款，我知道大概明后年很多人就有这个 buying power 买了，即使是 foreclosure short sale 他都可以买了。
再一个，我们有亲身经历，我们当时做 North Dakota 的时候哈，我们做 North Dakota 就在不到一年的期间，我们就看到 North Dakota 的变化。就是我们刚开始做的时候 ，builder 他们1年才卖了50栋，他当地根本就没有人买，没有买的非常少，1年才卖了50栋，而我们在几个月就卖了就40-50栋，30-40栋，所以说他没有 buying power。但是我们到最后的时候。卖到最后的时候，我们 builder 不给我们货了，为什么呢？他当地的 buying power 起来了。当地人有钱买了，所以说我们就后来就抢。
当地人
他当地有 buying power 的，他就开始。
他是2年前开始 boom， 然后2年中间很多人就进去开始工作，还有了 worker history 1年多，
对他 credit 修好了。
所以当地 buying power 上去了，房子也涨了，我们也没有房可以卖。
对，所以说这个底特律呢也会是这种 cycle， 也会这种 cycle。现在都是 credit bad credit， 慢慢呢它就会建起来，建起来那时候就抢了，那时候就没有 inventory 了，更没有 inventory。
首先我们要看他的网站，然后找房源是吧？
但我们有他的网站，他的网站上没有房源哈，是在我们这儿的，我们的网站他没有。你没搞错？对。
我们的网站房源定好以后，有目的的过去，对不对？
对，这个你要想去看的话，想去看。
不过去看了，就在这边。
我们帮你们组织呀，我们帮你们组织。
在这边不看的就在这边。
可以，你可以想看，欢迎。
大部分就是我这种房子，大部分不看，为什么呢？它这种是 standard 的，他们是 standard， 它不像你买 multiple listing， 每一家长得都不一样，张三李四王二麻子每个人长一个样。这种呢，它这种是 standard，
想看就欢迎去，不想看没关系，我们很多人都不看。
再一个呢 ，Anthony 就是我们的 local broker， 他就是你们的眼睛和你的耳朵，他是你的眼睛。就是如果他给你当时那个给你看的时候，他就会看着 rehab 各个 standard。我们全部都连在一起的，你不用管。
先就是，你先定好房，看好房，定好房了。如果人家有问题，你可以问。
我们会到时候每一个人都有自己的 agent 哈，我们是这样的，我呢是主管 marketing， 然后那个 Vicky 是主管 sales， 然后我们呢下面还有那个Vincent 和 David 是更基本的管你们基本的，所以每一个人呢都在安排下和 David 和 Vincent 每一个人都插一个，都有这样的1对1的，然后呢 Vincent 和 David 上面是 Vicky 就是 make sure Vincent and David serve you right 啊，有什么问题我们不会回答的，然后我是律师回答，所以你们有好几层的那个保护哈。就是再一个，你们需要什么的时候都不用你们亲自去管，就像要跟 Anthony 联系啊，要跟那个 Vendor 联系啊，他们都帮你 take care 了，我们的 sales 帮你们 take care。
2年都这样，是什么问题？
那对，我们都会这样，但是总的来说呢，就是我们是照理来说，我们还是 marketing company， 我们不是 vendor。对吧？所以刚开始的时候我们介入多一些，等你们进来之后上路了，他有 property management， 这样你有什么问题，你跟 property manager 打电话，给我们打电话没用的 ，property manager 会主管，所以将来就一步一步 transaction 你就进入到这个 system 里边了。
Let me tell you two things that I forgot to mention, and it's very interesting points of life. Number one, the city of Detroit is massive. It's very, very huge. Look on the map. It's like 8 or 12 miles like from one to the other. There's West and East Detroit. It was built big for one reason, okay? Because the car companies wanted you to drive all over the place. Now, let me tell you what they did. Ford Motor Company, there up until now, there was no rapid transit system in Detroit. They're building all new rapid transit throughout the entire city. They're changing the city from, a 1920 city to a 2020 city. Ford Motor Company, somewhere around the 1930s, when they had mass transit, like every normal city would have, they bought up all the railroad tracks and they paved them all over. They stopped rapid transit from happening in the city of Detroit because they wanted everyone to buy a car. Makes sense, really, if you think about it. But, it did lots of things to Detroit. It kept it, behind the times. So they have all new, rapid transit. The city was built too wide. When you hear about Detroit changing and shrinking, they're taking the city and they're shrinking it. They're making it into a 2020 city. They're taking the outskirts and they're making it, a smaller city, for a lack of a better word. Now, in the past, in all cities in the U.S., people used to live in the city before they invented suburbs. People lived in the city. In London, England, in New York, they lived in the city. Then they invented suburbs. People moved out of the city. Now the trend is live back in the city, as you know. The city is being redeveloped. All the office buildings are being turned into condos, loft living, all the funky things that you saw that happened in Bronx, New York, and those areas, just same thing that's going on. So they're changing the entire feel
And
of the city.
98 occupancy rate? What is that? 90 what in the city of downtown? 90.
I don't know.
I think it's almost. It's very hard to get in. You have to sometimes wait for months.
It's the yuckiest place to be now, right?
And it's a happening
it used
place
to be
right
no
now.
place. Now everyone wants to live in a loft in the city.
Yeah.
What's the population?
The population of Detroit today is around. The population of Metro Detroit is 7-point-something million. Metro Detroit. That's the suburbs. The population of Detroit City is around 800,000. It used to be about 1.4 million in 1930. And so it shrunk ever since. Bye-bye.
They're the semiconductor guys. Yes, 没问题。好，再见。谢谢。
The only thing I can say to you while you leave, why me?
爱你。然后你们这个，你们大部分人都有 connection， 都有那个 link 啊，就是每一个哪个 sales 啊，
We are buying a house. Do we have to stuck with your management? Like,
No, you can change anytime you wish. There's no need to be with ours.
but you give 2 years, like warranty. 2 years.
Yeah, we give 2 years, but you don't have to stay with us. We warranty at Smart Homes, regardless of who the property manager. So if we're not the property manager, we still warranty as a developer for 2 years.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Please answer me honestly.
Yes.
Why you want to get off these property, which is going to make you 20% annually?
Why it would get off? What do you mean?
Why you want to just sell it?
Because there's more homes than I could ever buy. So I make money. I mean, if I had all the money in the world, I wouldn't tell you. But I make money off of selling. I can't buy all of it. I mean, at the end of the day, if you can't buy everything, I can't personally own every single home in the city of Detroit.